Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Hey folks, welcome back to the Firefighters podcast for another incident debrief. We know how popular these are, and we have diligently been pushing along to get this one together accurately. We believe that these debriefs, while they're often difficult and deeply emotional, are absolutely essential. They help us honour those that we've lost by learning absolutely everything we can to prevent these future tragedies. We have carefully consulted publicly available reports, inquest findings, and debriefs related to the Paul's Hair and Beauty World fire. And we've also spoken with individuals who were there on that day, and our aim has been to combine official facts with lived experience to tell the story truthfully, respectfully, and with clarity. We recognise the sensitivity of this subject. A great deal of work and care has gone into cross-referencing memories with official accounts, and the purpose here is, of course, not to point fingers, but to reflect, to grow, and to do better for those who follow in Stephen Hunt's footsteps. So in today's episode, we reflect on the tragedy that must never be forgotten, a fire that claimed the life of firefighter Stephen Hunt on Saturday, July 13th, 2013, at Paul's Hair and Beauty World on Oldham Street in Manchester. Stephen was a proud and deeply respected member of Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service, serving on the Blue Watch at Phillips Park Community Fire Station. He was not just a professional firefighter, he was a father, a son, a brother, and a friend. A hero who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. Stephen's death shook the fire and rescue service community, not just in Manchester, but across the UK and beyond. The sense of loss remains profound, but what must endure just as powerfully is our collective commitment to understanding what went wrong so that it's never repeated. This episode is not just a recounting of events, it's a reminder of our duty to be open, to be honest, and to learn. The investigation into this complex incident revealed a number of critical issues. Some lapses in command assurance processes, some missed control measures during shift changes, inconsistencies in breathing apparatus procedures, communication breakdowns, and failures in role responsibilities. These are not small matters. They are the kinds of oversights that can cost lives. So we cannot turn back time, but we can and must ensure that Stephen's legacy leads to lasting change. His story demands that we confront the unforgettable truths, apply the lessons learned, and make sure that every firefighter who walks into danger is supported by systems and leadership that never falter. This is about more than a report. It's about culture, accountability, and honouring a fallen firefighter by doing everything in our power to ensure no family endures this kind of loss again. Now let's get into it. This episode is brought to you in partnership with Godiva Limited. Godiva is one of the world's leading providers of specialist equipment for emergency services market. Godiva produces a comprehensive range of fire pumps, including vehicle-mounted, portable, and their cutting-edge integrated total water flow control system, SAMFlows. I've been using Godiva my entire career as a reliable pump on the fireground. It is such a crucial element of a successful firefighting team that you want to empower your crews with the very best, reliable, quality product. Reach out to our partners by checking the notes in the podcast. Now back to the show. So let's take you to the scene. Oldham Street, Manchester, on a summer Saturday, July 13th, 2013. Paul's Hair and Beauty World was located inside Planetree House, a multi-occupied commercial building set into a slope, giving it a unique and challenging layout. The front of the building appeared to have 3 stories, but from the rear, there was 4, plus a basement, partly below ground. This structure wasn't isolated, it was tightly flanked by other buildings, including Satcher's Hotel on one side and a coffee shop to the other, with Affleck's Palace, a bustling emporium just behind it. This was a typical Manchester City block, dense, busy, and full of life. Inside, the building was a maze of businesses and activity. The ground floor was shared by Paul's Hair and Beauty World and Blue Rinse Clothing, while upper floors housed a mix of organisations from a language college to Alcoholics Anonymous and an acting agency. It was a cross-section of the city life, all stacked vertically, with people coming and going throughout the day. Paul's Hair and Beauty World had its main entrance on Oldham Street, leading directly into the shop floor lined with counters and product displays arranged in squared-off U-shaped. To the left, a narrow aisle stacked with shampoos and treatments. To the right, behind the service counter, were office spaces and 2 staircases leading to the mezzanine, with more offices, a staff area, and storage. But the heart of the operation and the key area of concern during the fire was the stock room at the rear. This was no ordinary back room. It was tightly packed with rows of 3-meter-high wooden racking, library-style shelving loaded with dense stock, much of it made from highly flammable materials, natural and synthetic hair pieces. Narrow aisles ran between the shelves, creating a labyrinth of potential fuel. At the very rear of this room was the only escape route, down 6 steps to a final exit consisting of 2 push-bar fire doors. But outside one of these doors stood a metal cage used for cardboard storage, and on that day, it was here, within that cage, that fire first took hold. Just steps from the exit and directly below racks of synthetic hair, the fire quickly gained intensity, fueled by the surrounding materials. This layout, tight spaces, high fuel load, and a compromised escape route created a perfect storm. It was a volatile environment where decisions had to be made quickly, communication had to be flawless, and every safety system had to work as designed. It is in this setting, layered, complex and dangerous, that firefighter Stephen Hunt and his colleagues operated. Understanding the structure and contents of this premises is critical if we are to truly learn what happened. Because when we understand the environment they faced, we begin to understand the scale of the risks and the absolute necessity of getting every detail right in planning, command, and safety. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together. Now we move to the timeline and the final deployment of firefighter Stephen Hunt. It's 2:44 and the fire is discovered behind the rear fire exit of Paul's Hair and Beauty World by a shop staff. Smoke is already visible and the cardboard storage is well alight. Staff evacuate, except for the owner, who attempts to fight the fire with extinguishers. 5 minutes later, a call is finally made to fire control. The delay gives the fire time to escalate and grow significantly, fueled by the dense stock of synthetic hair and flammable materials. At 2:55, the first fire appliance arrives. It's Salford's crew and their first in attendance at the rear, followed quickly by crews from Blakely and Moss Side arriving at the front. At 3 p.m, as smoke thickens, breathing apparatus teams are committed from both the front and the rear. The fire is now confirmed and well developed. There is confusion over the number of appliances and watch managers on scene, but sectorization is established. Sector 1 at the rear and Sector 3 at the front. However, just a few minutes later, concern grows about the intensity of the fire. A Make Pumps 4 message is sent, quickly followed by Make Pump 6 as the fire intensifies. A group manager arrives and takes command, confirming the plan, locate and extinguish the fire in Sector 1, search for any remaining persons in Sector 3. At 3:20, the incident is declared offensive mode. BA teams will need to work inside the building despite the growing risks. 6 minutes later, larger jets are brought in to tackle the fire, replacing initial hose reels. The crews are struggling with heavy stock and collapsed shelving. At 4:08, all BA teams were withdrawn from inside due to worsening conditions. It's clear now, if anyone remained inside, survivability would be unlikely. 3 hours later, at 7:14, firefighter Stephen Hunt arrives on the night shift crew from Phillips Park. He's assigned as part of a BA team alongside his partner. And at 7:45, Stephen and his partner are sent to a BA pool, but within minutes they are deployed into Sector 1, tasked with entering through doorway A. At 7:59, they are briefed, entering via the rear, up the steps to the mezzanine, and use of a thermal imaging camera to locate and call hotspots. They are told not to move far, just to fight from the top of the stairs. 5 minutes later, they enter the building. Visibility is nearly zero. It's hot, confusing, and unstable. They begin working hard. They push their way in, searching and applying water in short pulses, gas cooling the atmosphere. Within minutes, they find the post room and sweep it. No obvious fire is detected, but the heat is growing. Stephen's partner suggests it's time to leave. They try to exit, but the way appears blocked. The hose is tangled under debris. They're disorientated. They try again. No success. Panic begins to rise, and Stephen attempts to radio for help multiple times, but there's no reply. At 8:18 approximately, they're now 12 minutes in. They're low on air, they're hot, and they're unable to find the exit. They try to retrace the hose line, but confusion grows. At 8:26, a relief team, BAT-5, is committed to find Stephen and his partner. They locate them just inside, 10 meters in. Stephen hands over the branch and says, "We just need to get out." But something goes wrong. Instead of exiting, Stephen and his partner head deeper into the building, possibly confused about the direction. They become separated again. At 8:30, Stephen's low-pressure whistle activates. His air is nearly depleted. 4 minutes later, a shout for help is heard. Voices, a scream, a BA emergency is declared. There's chaos. 1 minute later, Stephen's partner is found first, barely conscious. A firefighter grabs him and says, "I've got you," and he's pulled from the building. Another minute later, at 8:36, Stephen's automatic distress signal unit activates. His cylinder pressure hits 0. He's out of air. Shortly after, firefighters search desperately, crawling through fire debris, and they find Stephen. They pull him free, but obstacles make the rescue difficult. At 8:41, firefighter Stephen Hunt is carried from the building. Outside, paramedics and firefighters fight to save him, and he is rushed to hospital. At 9:02, Stephen arrives at Manchester Royal Infirmary, and despite all efforts, he cannot be saved. In just under an hour, from briefing to collapse, Stephen Hunt went from preparing his BA set to making the ultimate sacrifice. Each moment, each delay, each miscommunication or missed handover played its part. This wasn't just a series of tactical missteps. It was a slow and tragic unfolding of systematic failure, human error, and the brutal reality of fireground conditions. Stephen was a professional, brave, committed, everything we ask of our firefighters to be. We owe it to him and every firefighter walking into the unknown today to do better, to learn, to change, to make sure this never happens again. Let's reflect on the investigation and what we must learn. MSA are supporting us on today's podcast, and I chose to partner with them because I've been wearing this stuff for nearly 20 years, and they are the global leader in development, manufacture, and supply of incredible, safe products that really protect people, not just our communities out there, but also first responders, most importantly, all over the world. Get yourself over to MSA and have a look at it. The high-performance protective clothing for emergency services responders. They also partner with us on the UK Pink Firefighters. It's because we love them. The helmets with the reflective visor, the F1XF, absolutely epic helmet. And not forgetting how they improve firefighter safety through their connectivity in the connected firefighter platform. MSA are always pushing the envelope, and it's a real privilege to be able to continue to grow our partnership together. So whether it's your PPE, your bunker gear, your helmets, your SCBA, your thermal imaging, your Luna, or your portable gas detection, both of us know that this equipment needs to work. It needs to be high quality, reliable, and dependable in the moment. And that's why I use MSA, because they know what's at stake. When the flames were out and the equipment packed away, the most difficult work truly began, asking the hardest questions. What happened? What was missed? And most importantly, how do we make sure no one else walks Stephen Hunt's path to tragedy? The investigation that followed Stephen's death by Greater Manchester Police, the coroner's inquest, and by Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service themselves revealed something sobering. This wasn't the result of one catastrophic decision. It was the accumulation of small steps, missed communications, assumptions, and breakdowns that, together, created fatal conditions for Stephen and his BA partner. Let's talk through some of what the jury found and what it means for all of us. The jury found that safety measures were in place during the day shift, 20-minute BA wear limits, clear instructions to remain at the top of the stairs, a dedicated second safety officer to monitor teams. But here's the critical point. When Stephen and his partner entered the building that evening, those control measures were not communicated to the officers responsible for their deployment. They were in place, but not passed on. Even more concerning, the jury found that briefings were inconsistent. Stephen and his partner received two slightly different messages. One mentioned a mezzanine, the other didn't. One included a clear instruction, the other left more open to interpretation. That confusion, seemingly minor, may have influenced how far they advanced into the building. It wasn't carelessness on their part. They followed the brief as they understood it. The 20-minute time limit wasn't formally recorded, and it wasn't translated into cylinder pressure as per BA procedures. And while several officers knew about the time limits and other measures, that knowledge simply didn't transfer. What that meant, tragically, was that Stephen entered a risk environment without all the protection and systems was supposed to give him. There were signals, missed opportunities to intervene. The pump operator noticed that water wasn't being delivered. Communications with the team inside were lost. Telemetry had failed. Yet, the command structure didn't act quickly enough on these red flags. The investigation also highlighted a lack of clarity in functional roles. Officers stepped out of positions without formal handovers. Roles like secondary safety officer, which had been vital during the day, weren't replaced at night. Relief plans were informal, unrecorded, and at times conflicting. Supervision broke down. And when the most senior officer at the scene, the area manager, chose to remain in a mentoring role instead of formally taking command, it created uncertainty. In that moment, there was no one person ultimately accountable for decisions as the situation escalated. These were not malicious errors. They were oversights in high-pressure, dynamic environments. But we must be clear, oversights can kill. It is beyond a privilege to be able to bring the Firefighters podcast to you, and we are so grateful for every single person that supports, listens, shares, and follows our journey. But here's the honest truth. It takes a colossal amount of time and work to keep the podcast going. And to help us keep doing it, create more, reach more guests internationally, and make the podcast sustainable, we're asking for you to help. And to do this, we've set up a Patreon page. Now, by joining this, you'll not only support the future of the podcast, but also gain access to exclusive benefits. Now, if you've ever wanted to meet a member of the podcast, buy us a beer, buy us a coffee, and you think anything you've ever listened to on the podcast has been worth £3, that's basically what we're asking you for. By joining our Patreon community, you will get access to every single full episode archive we have ever made. Now, hundreds and hundreds of key documents that we've got in there on fire behavior, firefighter health, cancer risks, incident debriefs, and so much more. A growing collection of valuable resources to help you learn and grow. Your support in whatever way, dropping it in the WhatsApp group, sharing it on the local newsletter, whatever it is, it's incredibly valuable and we really do support it. And we need it to make it a long-lasting resource, that legacy resource we always talk about for first responders, firefighters, and everybody everywhere who's ever been interested in joining the fire service. Now, if you're already supporting something, as many people do, it's totally cool. You can still access the podcast for free and you'll always be able to access all the new episodes for free. But we're asking for your help to make this sustainable. And we want to keep growing, we want to keep sharing the insights, and we want to keep showcasing the incredible work happening in our community and our sector. So if you feel like you want to join the Patreon crew and help us make this possible, head to patreon.com/TFFPC or check the link in any episode podcast notes. So what do we do with this knowledge? We must resist the instinct to place blame on individuals and instead look deeply at the systems, the culture, and the shared responsibilities that shape our firegrounds. Every one of us in the fire service must ask, are our safety measures clear? And are they carried forward when shifts change over or situations evolve? Do we have robust systems that demand proper handovers, not just in name but in action? Do we challenge uncertainty? Or do we assume someone else has it covered? And when we step into leadership, are we truly accountable for everything that happens under our watch? Because if we don't ask these questions now, if we don't embed these lessons into every incident plan, every command training, every pre-brief, we risk failing Stephen Hunt all over again. Let his memory be a catalyst, not just for remembrance, but for reform. For every firefighter who pulls on a tunic and straps on a BA set, let's honour Stephen by doing everything in our power to make sure they go home. This isn't about a fire, it's about all of us. All of the time. Thanks again for joining us on another important and emotional episode. We want to extend our deepest gratitude to everyone who contributed to the reports, investigations, and first-hand accounts that informed today's debrief. The diligence, transparency, and honesty of those efforts made it possible for us to learn, not just as individuals, but as a fire service community. To every firefighter listening, regardless of how many years you've worn the badge or the uniform, please remember this. You are never just a passenger on the fireground, and there is no such thing as just a firefighter. We all have a role to play in our safety and the safety of our colleagues. Challenge what you don't understand. Ask questions. Seek clarity. Never follow instructions blindly without context. Tactical decisions must be grounded in logic, communicated clearly, and constantly reviewed as the situation evolves. Because assumptions, however small, can have fatal consequences. As firefighters, our strength lies not just in courage, but in humility, curiosity, and a relentless commitment to get better. We remain committed to bringing you more episodes like this, debriefs that explore real life incidents, both from the UK and around the world. These conversations are not easy, but they are necessary, because through reflection comes progress. Through progress, we protect one another. So keep tuning in, keep learning, keep growing, and let's honour the sacrifices of those we've lost by ensuring that we never stop developing through every stage of our fire service journey. Until next time, stay safe, stay switched on, and look after each other. I'll see you next time. Well, that's it for today, folks. Hope you took a lot away from that episode. We started the Firefighters podcast to develop, inspire, connect, motivate, represent, and most importantly, celebrate the world of incredible emergency services operators and the wider sector through this series of wide-ranging conversations. We really love creating this podcast and bringing it to so many people. Did you know you can also find these on YouTube? We do a lot of video podcasts now. You can head over to our YouTube page and follow, subscribe there. And as a final ask from us, whatever platform you're on, please rate the podcast. It really helps us as a key performance indicator to reach more and more people. I've been your host, Pete Wakefield. This has been the Firefighters podcast. And wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, be happy, live with intention, and where possible, please remember and support your firefighters and first responders. I'll see you next time.